And they were, let me try to straighten this up and see what's going on. There we go. We were looking up the dates, and the next one is December, and it's the Saturday before exams start. So whether that's one you want to think about, but as juniors, you need to take it as many times as you can. Then it's February. I think I would take that one if I were y'all, and then we'll do it here in April. The one here will be, which gives us more time. Last spring it was pushed to get that March one, which we didn't end up doing because of COVID, but we were trying to rush it, and then y'all were going to take fall break and spring break and then come back and take it right then. And so hopefully we'll have a little bit more time. If you haven't taken it, the math is going to be pretty overwhelming, but do the best you can. Answer as many as you can. Guess on the ones you have to. Eliminate answers. We'll do some more worksheets between now and then. So 34, 35. And today is, and we may just do 34. We'll just see how many examples we need to do. And today's the 25th. And of course, I'm still not on screen. And I'm just going to say lesson 14 more. I'm just going to say more laws. Let's do, and I'll put a 1 by, I'm just going to do examples and put stars by them. So if I have m to the 0, I'm just going to go ahead and do it like that. Anything to the raise of 0 powers, and everybody thinks it's going to be 0, but it's actually equal to 1. So in that notation, the idea that if you had something like, I've seen this on the ACT, if you had in parentheses 8a cubed c to the 7th, all raised to the 0 power. Anything raised to 0 power is 1. So that's a great one. You don't have to do 8 to the 0 because that's 1. A to the 3 times 0, that's 1. C to the 7th to 0, that's 1. So all of that across there is 1. And these are going to be mixed in. Something like, let's do negative 3 x to the 4th y to the 0. Well, negative 3 x to the 4th times 1, negative 3 x to the 4th. Now, the harder of the concept is what's happening with negative exponents. Well, let's just start with like 1 over x to the negative 4. Now, the rule is never leave negative exponents. I will write on your paper NS, not simplified. And it said it even in your classwork on 13, and you didn't even know what they were talking about. It said, do not leave negative exponents. So what do you do with them? I tell you that if they're on the top, and so in this case, that's x to the 4th. And there's still a 1 under there, but it's not that 1. It's not reciprocal in the whole thing. That's why you have to be careful about calling it reciprocal. It's just to get rid of the negative exponent, it's going to move. We'll do a couple of simple ones like that because I didn't give a lot of simple ones. When you pull stuff off of Algebra 2 worksheets, it's not going to do a lot of the baby ones like it would do in Algebra 1. So if you had, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's do 3x to the negative 5 over x to the negative 3. Now we're going to take it just baby steps. Okay, the 3 is raised to a 1. Will all of you agree with that? Is 1 a negative exponent? It is not. So the 3 stays where it is. The x to the negative 5, negative exponent, so that thing is going to go to the bottom. I don't do any cleanup until I move this stuff. And then x to the negative 3 on the bottom would go to the 3, go to the top. Now that's how you get rid of negative exponents. And I get rid of them first. Now let's clean it up. This comes back to what we did. What we say is, like this right here, if you have x to the 5th over x to the 3rd, you have 5 x's on top, 3 on the bottom. If you start canceling, you would have 2 left on the top. So you're kind of subtracting, but is it bottom heavy or top heavy? Like this one right here had 3 left on the bottom. So in this case, if I start marking out x's, will I have any left? How many would be left? 2 on the bottom, x to the 2nd. And I would not, and this is what people don't want to do. They want to do it all in one step. They don't like doing extra steps. I'm just telling you what I think is the easiest way to do it. let's do, let's go ahead and jump into it, hoping you've done a little bit of lesson 13. Let's do negative 12, x to the negative 3, y to the 4, over, let's do a 10, and an x to the 5, and a y to the negative 7. Now, big emphasis right here. That negative, you better listen, that negative is not a negative exponent. It's not up here in the air. Negatives do not, you had negatives over here. We had negatives. We never moved anything to the top or bottom. Negative numbers just stay where they are. You're looking at its exponent. That negative 12 has a 1 exponent. It stays on top. Now I'm going to go ahead and make me a big fraction bar. What about this? This kind of gets the whole concept of negative exponents. Oh, I should have put a, let's add a, let's see, we got x, y. Let's put a z to the 0 on there. Let's do that. That will cover all the rules we're doing today. So tell me about x to the negative 3. You need to get rid of that negative exponent. What would you do? Go to the bottom. See, I haven't even done anything with the 10 yet. I don't really care what order you put them in because it's commutative. We can clean it up when we get ready. The y to the 4 stays on top. And I'm going to go ahead and write that z to the 0 as a 1. I'm going to go ahead and put times 1. And on the bottom, my 10 stays on the bottom. My x to the 5th stays on the bottom. See, it's not a negative x. Everybody will start switching everything. And then what are you going to do with that y to the negative 7? You're going to move him to the top. Now we're going back to those laws, Claire, from lesson 13, and we're going to clean up. Now, y'all want to reduce your negative 12 over 10 to start with? Well, we know it's going to be negative. Go ahead. 6 over 5. And you don't want to do mixed numbers. You don't want to do decimals. ACT usually sticks with that. Now, you want to do x's. A lot of people like to do their alphabetically. We have 3 x's on the bottom and 5 x's on the bottom, and we don't have any x's on top, so it should come back. Yep. And how many x's do I have where? You have 8 on the bottom. And then how many y's? And see, that's just the negative 6 times the 1. So we got negative 6. And how many y's on top?
11.
The 11. So I will tell you, it's easier to get rid of your negative exponents first if you can. Now we'll throw a little more into it from lesson 13. Let's do, oh, I don't know. Let's do, I don't think I'm going to put a number in it yet. I'm just going to put a 1. So I'm going to do just a parentheses. And I'm going to do m to the negative 2, n to the 3, y to the negative 1, and we're going to raise it all to the negative 3. Now this is a case, and it kind of goes back to please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We're going to get, you know, it says parentheses and then exponents, but we're going to get rid of the parentheses first, and then we'll start moving stuff. Now what do you do when you have power of a power? Remember what we do right here? Oop. We multiply their exponents. So the number up front's a 1, so we don't have to worry about that. So I've got m to the negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. I'm just going to put a 6. If you need the positive there, you can. N to the what? And y to the 3rd. Okay, now everybody good with that? If you leave it like that, I'm going to write NS because it's not finished. And what's going to move? The n to the 9 to the bottom, m to the 6 stays on top, and y to the 3rd stays on the top. Let's do open parentheses. Let's do 3. Let me see what they've got. I'm kind of picking some like what you have on classwork. Let's do a to the negative 2, c to the 4th, and then let's raise it all to the 3rd power. Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to make that a negative 3, because that's what freaks people out right there. They think that's a negative exponent. I'm going to put a little 1 up there. That's not a negative exponent. So we've got negative 3 to the 3rd. Now, you can do that on your calculator, and I said to the class yesterday, I go ahead and do my sign. If I've got a negative times a negative times a negative, that's going to be negative. And 3 times 3 times 3 is what? Oh, now be careful. It's not 3 times 3, it's this, remember? Yes, it's 27. You can either do, now there's a couple ways you can type this. I go ahead and do my sign and just do 3 raised to the 3. 3 times 3 times 3. If you're going to do it in the whole thing, sorry, if you're going to do the whole thing on the calculator, you're actually doing negative 3 raised to the 3rd. And I know some of you are going to say, well, it gave me negative 27 if I didn't do parentheses. It has to do because that's an odd number. Remember, it didn't work with even numbers a while ago, the other day, so you do have to be careful. So we got negative 27, still got a positive exponent. A to the what? And C to the 12th. What's going to move? Just the A to the negative 6. Good. Negative 27 stays on top. C to the 12 stays on top. A to the 6. And then if you had to cancel or anything, that would be the place to do it. Let's do, let's do one like this. Let's do negative 8, A to the negative 3, C to the 4th, over, let's do negative 2, A to the, let's just do A, times, let's see, what do we want to do? Let's do 6, A to the negative 4, C to the 0. Now, multitudes of ways to do it, but I'm going to tell you that I move stuff and then I start cleaning it up. I think it's easier. Now, we may talk about the numbers as we go. I have a negative 8 on top. That's raised to 1. I'm going to leave a negative 8 on top. Now, I am going to do this, if you're okay with it. I have a negative 2 times a positive 6 on the bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and put negative 12 right there, if y'all are okay with that. But I'm not doing that with anything else. Where's the A to the negative 3 going to go? To the bottom. C to the 4 stays on top. A stays on the bottom. We've already done the 6. A to the negative 4 goes to the top. And C to the 0 is just a 1. And you can put it on top or bottom. I'll just leave it on the bottom because that's where it was. 1 is 1, whether it's on top or bottom. Okay, y'all want to do the number first? Negative 8 over negative 12. I know that's positive. What's 8/12 going to reduce to? What'll go into it? Or you can reduce on your calculator. Remember, you can do that alpha x and put 8 over 12, or you can do, I just do 8 divided by 12 math frac. And I believe you get 2/3. Because you divide by 4 over 4. What about the C's? How many C's do you have where? I have 4 on top. Now, I probably should have already put these together, but that's okay too. I have 4 A's on top. How many A's do I have on bottom?
4.
I also have A to the 4th. I'm going to kind of circle it like that, so I probably should have done an extra step. And so those are gone, and there's no A's left.